They told us the Bible was just a religious book, a collection of old stories, moral lessons, ancient myths. But what if that was never its real purpose? What if the Bible was not written to control humanity, but to reprogram it? What if entire civilizations were reshaped, not by armies or kings, but by ideas hidden in plain sight? Ideas so powerful that they rewired how humans think about time, law, identity, suffering, power, and even the soul. Tonight, we are not asking whether you believe the Bible. We are asking something far more dangerous. What did the Bible actually do to the world? And why are we no longer taught to see it? Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Before the Bible, the world ran on cycles. Ancient civilizations, Egypt, Babylon, Greece, India, believed time moved in circles. Empires rose. Empires fell. The gods repeated the same dramas endlessly. Nothing truly changed. History was fate. Then the Bible arrived and shattered the wheel. The Hebrew Scriptures introduced something utterly revolutionary. Linear time, a beginning, a direction, a destination. Creation was not an accident. It was intentional. History was not meaningless. It was a story. And humanity was not trapped in eternal repetition. It was moving somewhere. The philosopher Karl Löwith later argued that modern ideas of progress, revolution, and historical destiny are impossible without biblical thinking. Even atheistic philosophies unknowingly borrow this structure. The Bible didn't just change religion, it changed how humans experience time itself. Suddenly, history mattered, choices mattered, individuals mattered, and most dangerous of all, the future mattered. This is why empires feared it. Because once people believe history has meaning, they stop accepting oppression as destiny. Practical insight. When you feel stuck in repeating cycles, emotional, spiritual, generational, the biblical worldview invites a question ancient cultures never asked. Where is this leading me? Not why is this happening, but what is this forming? That single shift, from cycle to journey, is one of the Bible's greatest hidden gifts. And this was only the beginning. How the Bible invented the value of the individual soul. In the ancient world, the individual did not matter. You were your tribe, your class, your usefulness to the empire. If you were weak, you were expendable. If you were poor, you were invisible. If you were conquered, you were nothing. Egypt built monuments to gods and pharaohs, never to slaves. Rome perfected law, but only for citizens. Greece praised wisdom, yet justified infanticide. Then the Bible whispered something heretical. Every human bears the image of God. Not kings, not priests, not warriors. Every soul. The Hebrew phrase imago Dei, later emphasized by Christian theologians like Augustine of Hippo, was a spiritual atomic bomb. It meant that a beggar had metaphysical worth, that a child mattered, that the unseen life had eternal weight. This idea did not stay in churches. It leaked into the world. The historian Tom Holland, author of Dominion, argues that modern human rights, dignity, and equality are unintelligible without the biblical vision of sacred personhood. Even when societies reject Christianity itself. Why? Because once a culture absorbs the idea that every soul is sacred, it can never fully return to brutality without contradiction. In Roman arenas, crowds once cheered as humans were slaughtered for sport. But as biblical ethics spread, something strange happened. People began to feel uncomfortable, not afraid, not coerced, convicted. By the 4th century, gladiatorial games were abolished, not by revolution, but by conscience. That conscience had a source. Practical technique. The Bible doesn't ask you to inflate your ego. It asks you to recognize your weight. Try this tonight. Sit in silence for 1 minute and imagine this phrase. Not emotionally, but intellectually. My life is not accidental. Watch how your posture changes, your breathing, your self-talk. This is not positive thinking. This is ontological reorientation, and it has consequences. Because when people believe they have inherent worth, they stop living as expendable. But the Bible did something even more radical. It didn't just elevate the individual. It restrained power itself, the Bible's hidden war against tyranny and absolute power. In the ancient world, power was divine. Kings were gods. Emperors were fate in human form. To question authority was to question the cosmos itself. But the Bible did something unprecedented. It desacralized power. In the Hebrew Scriptures, kings are not divine. They are judged, corrected, publicly confronted. Think about this. The prophet Nathan stands before King David, the most powerful man in Israel, and tells him a story, a parable about injustice. And when David condemns the villain, Nathan says 4 words that changed political history. You are the man. No lightning strikes Nathan. No divine punishment falls from the sky. Instead, the king repents. The theologian Walter Brueggemann describes this as one of the Bible's most dangerous contributions. Power is answerable to moral law. This idea did not remain theological. It became political. The biblical concept that rulers are under law, not above it, flows directly into constitutional thinking, the rule of law, the rejection of absolute monarchy. Even John Locke, a foundational philosopher of modern democracy, openly grounded his political theory in biblical ethics, especially the idea that authority exists to serve life, not dominate it. Ancient empires were pyramids, wide at the bottom, divine at the top. The Bible inverted the pyramid. God stands above the king. Law stands above power. Conscience stands above command. And suddenly, tyranny has a problem. Practical insight. When the Bible speaks of idolatry, it is not only talking about statues. It is talking about any system that claims ultimate authority. Governments, ideologies, even identities. Ask yourself, what in my life is unquestionable? Whatever cannot be questioned has already begun to rule you. But the Bible's most unsettling contribution was yet to come, because it didn't just limit power, it redefined victory itself, how the Bible turned suffering into a transformational force. In the ancient world, suffering meant one thing: you had lost. The gods were against you. Fate had crushed you. Your pain was proof of failure. But the Bible introduced a dangerous paradox. Suffering could be meaningful, not glorified, not sought, but transfigured. The story of Job shattered the ancient belief that suffering always equals guilt. The Psalms gave language to grief without denial. The prophets revealed pain as a refining fire, not a curse. And then came the most radical inversion of all, the cross, a symbol of imperial execution, reframed as the axis of redemption. The theologian Jürgen Moltmann, in The Crucified God, argued that Christianity permanently altered humanity's understanding of pain by claiming that God enters suffering rather than avoiding it. This was unprecedented. No ancient god suffered with humanity. They demanded sacrifice. They did not become it. Early Christians were not powerful. They were persecuted, marginalized, executed. Yet they spread, not through force, but through meaning. Because when suffering gains meaning, fear loses control. Practical technique. The Bible does not ask you to enjoy suffering. It asks you to listen to it. Tonight, write down one pain you've been trying to escape. Then ask, not emotionally, but consciously, what is this shaping in me? You are not searching for justification. You are searching for formation. This is the biblical alchemy of pain, and it terrifies systems built on fear. But the Bible's influence did not stop at inner transformation. It quietly reshaped education, science, and knowledge itself. And how the Bible gave birth to modern education and science. Modern culture loves a familiar story. Science rose against the Bible. Reason defeated religion. Light replaced darkness. It's a compelling myth. It's also historically false. The biblical worldview did not suppress science. It made science possible. Why? Because the Bible declared something radical. The universe is ordered, and that order is intelligible. In ancient paganism, nature was chaotic, animated by unpredictable spirits. You didn't study nature, you appeased it. But the Bible demystified nature without emptying it of meaning. Creation was not divine, it was designed. And if it was designed by a rational creator, then it could be understood through observation, pattern, and law. This is why the early architects of modern science were deeply shaped by biblical theology. Johannes Kepler believed he was thinking God's thoughts after him. Isaac Newton wrote more on biblical interpretation than physics. Francis Bacon, father of the scientific method, framed experimentation as a form of humble obedience to creation rather than domination. The historian Peter Harrison has shown that the rise of empirical science in Europe cannot be separated from Christian assumptions about order, law, and purpose. The Bible turned the universe from a haunted forest into a readable manuscript, and scientists became its students. Practical insight. The biblical mindset encourages curiosity without arrogance. Try this shift. When learning something new, ask not, how can I control this? But, what is this revealing? This posture, wonder before mastery, is biblical at its core. But perhaps the Bible's most misunderstood legacy is this. It did not erase mystery. It preserved it. The Bible's secret preservation of mystery in an age of certainty. Most ancient religions drowned in mystery. Most modern ideologies try to eliminate it. The Bible did something far subtler. It framed mystery without dissolving meaning. When Moses asks God for his name, the answer is not a definition. It is a riddle. I am that I am. Not a label, not an image, a presence. The early theologian Gregory of Nyssa taught that God is known not by clarity, but by endless approach, what he called epektasis, the eternal movement into divine depth. The Bible does not offer total certainty. It offers orientation. This is why it survived empires, revolutions, and skepticism. Because it does not collapse mystery into dogma, nor does it dissolve truth into fog. When the early church debated doctrine, they argued fiercely, but they also preserved paradox. Jesus is human and divine, justice and mercy, transcendence and intimacy, not either or, both. Practical technique. In a world obsessed with being right, the Bible teaches how to be rooted without being rigid. Practice this. Hold one belief you're certain about. Then ask, what would deepen this, not threaten it? Depth, not defense, is the biblical path to wisdom. And now we reach the final and most ignored impact of all. Because the Bible didn't just change institutions, it changed what humans believed was possible. The Bible, and the dangerous idea that the world can be transformed. Ancient wisdom taught acceptance, endurance, resignation, harmony with what is. The Bible introduced something far more unsettling, hope with teeth. not optimism, not escapism, but the belief that reality itself can be redeemed. The prophets did not preach escape from the world. They envisioned its renewal. Justice rolling like waters, swords turned into plowshares, the lion lying with the lamb. The philosopher Ernst Bloch called this militant hope, a future that judges the present. And when Jesus speaks of the kingdom of God, he does not describe a distant heaven. He says, "The kingdom is among you." Meaning, transformation is not postponed. It is already pressing in. The Bible treats the world like a field, not a prison. Something is planted. Something is growing. Something will be harvested. Practical insight. Biblical hope is not passive waiting. It is active alignment. Ask yourself, what small act today would align me with the world I claim to believe in? Hope becomes real only when embodied. And this brings us to the final revelation. The Bible's greatest influence is not behind us. It is unfinished. Why the Bible's work is not over. The Bible does not end with an ending. It ends with an invitation. Let the one who has ears hear. The world we inhabit, human rights, dignity, conscience, law, hope, is built on biblical assumptions we no longer recognize. We live inside its echoes, while denying its voice. And yet, the question remains, what happens when a civilization forgets the source of its soul? The Bible never promised control. It promised awakening, not blind belief, but transformed vision. The danger is not that the Bible will disappear. The danger is that it will remain, unread, misunderstood, and unawakened. The ancient text is still speaking. The only question is, are we listening? The Bible never asked to be defended. It asked to be heard. It never forced belief. It invited perception. Across centuries, empires rose and fell. Ideas hardened and collapsed. Certainty replaced wisdom. And still, this ancient text remains, not as a weapon, not as a relic, but as a mirror. It does not tell you what to think. It asks you to see differently. So perhaps the most important question is not whether the Bible is true, but whether we are still capable of listening. If this message stirred something in you, not agreement, but awareness, then stay. More doors will open here. More forgotten keys will be revealed. Until then, be still and listen.